Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from two verses, the 18th and the 19th verses of the 19th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This chapter describes Parikshit Maharaj meeting Shukadev Goswami, and subsequently, from the second canto onwards, the conversation between Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami begins. That's the actual beginning of the Bhagavatam. But before the conversation between Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami, the first canto, there are the descriptions of Suta Goswami conversing with, speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. That's the entire first canto, practically speaking. So the 18th verse, Evam cha tasmin naradeva deve prayopavishte divideva sanghaha prashasya bhumau vyakiran prasunaihi muda muhur dundubhayascha neduhu. The meaning of this 18th verse is, thus the king Maharaj Parikshit sat to fast until death. All the demigods of the higher planets praised the king's actions, and in pleasure continually scattered flowers over the earth and beat celestial drums. So this is a description of Parikshit Maharaj getting the consent of the assembled great saintly persons to fast until death and prepare himself to quit his body in order to go back to Godhead. So the Devatas took note of this because he is such a great personality, famous throughout the universe because of his being a pure devotee. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, even up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit, there were interplanetary communications, and the news of Maharaj Parikshit's fasting unto death to attain salvation reached the higher planets in the sky where the intelligent demigods live. So Prabhupada is telling us in the upper planets there are more intelligent beings than the humans on the earth. Modern day people tend to think that all other planets are vacant and there is life only on this earth planet. But that is completely wrong. There are living beings on every planet of this creation. And there are living beings even on the spiritual planets. All are inhabited. What to speak of other planets, even in this desert area of this earth planet, there may seem to be only vast expanse of some sand. But that is the uninformed, ignorant, foolish people who think like that there is no life. But there are so many living creatures who are adapted to live there. Just like even in a desert, there are some vegetation like there are date trees. there are cactus which grow, and buried in the sand there are so many crawling insects, some varieties of worms. So naked eye cannot see them. So therefore somebody may wrongly conclude that there is no life. But actually every type of atmosphere supports life in its own way. Just like Srila Prabhupada informs us, even in the sun planet, there are living beings with bodies made of fire. In the water, there are so many aquatics. They have bodies suitable for living in water. We are terrestrial beings. We are meant to live on the land. We cannot live in the sea like the aquatics. The aquatics cannot live on the land. You bring a fish out of water and place him on the land, he will not survive for long. So similarly, if this atmosphere on the land is suitable for us, the other creatures have suitable living conditions in other types of atmosphere. Like there are so many germs that are living in the air. They live in the air. There are some living beings living in the sky that we are not aware of. But from the scriptures we get information. So just like this body is made of the earthly element that we have, there could be a body made of fire. There could be a body made of water. There could be a body made of air. There could be a body made of sky. So these are different types of material bodies for different creatures for adapting or acclimatizing themselves to live in different places, different types of atmosphere. So the demigods live in higher planets. They are adapted to living in those conditions. So they are many times more intelligent than humans. They have much better facilities for living there. And they have much longer duration of life. And they are pious, many times more pious than the pious human beings on the earth. So Srila Prabhupada describes the devatas, the demigods, are more luxurious than human beings, but all of them are obedient to the orders of the Supreme Lord. Vishnu Bhaktas Vruto Daiva. This is definition in the scriptures. All of them are devotees of the Supreme Lord, therefore they are obedient to the order of the Supreme Lord. There is no one in the heavenly planets who is an atheist or non-believer. This is the truth or the fact. Thus, any devotee of the Lord on the surface of the earth is always praised by them, the residents of the demigods in the heavenly planets. And in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, they were greatly delighted and thus gave tokens of honor by scattering flowers over the earth and by beating celestial drums. A demigod takes pleasure in seeing someone go back to Godhead. He is always pleased with a devotee of the Lord, so much so that by his adidaivic powers he may help the devotees in all respects. So sometimes people foolishly think that when the scriptures, we point out in the scriptures it is said you should exclusively worship Krishna and not the devatas. They think, oh, if we don't worship the devatas, devatas may become angry against us. But Srila Prabhupada is telling here, devatas are always pleased with a devotee of the Supreme Lord Krishna because they themselves are devotees of Krishna. So don't think that if a person who's in ignorance worshipping some devata, stops devata worship and instead worships Krishna as Krishna is instructed in the Bhagavad Gita, don't think that the devatas will become angry. No. On the other hand, devatas will be very pleased with such a devotee. And by their actions, the Lord is pleased with them. There is an invisible chain of complete cooperation between the Lord, the demigods, and the devotee of the Lord on earth. The 19th verse, Maharshayo vai samupagata ye prashasya sadhu iti anumodamanaha uchuhu prajanugrahashila sara yaduttama shloka gunabhirupam. The meaning of this 19th verse is as follows. All the great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. This is called sadhuvada. Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common men, for they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, a devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows. So, this is a description of what is the reaction of the great saintly persons who are assembled in that spot where Parikshit was sitting and fasting unto death in the holy place on the bank of the river Ganga. What was their reaction? They said, very good. They approved Parikshit's decision to fast until death and prepare himself to go back to Godhead. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the natural beauty of a living being is enhanced by rising up to the platform of devotional service. This is called spiritual beauty. Spiritual beauty is different, material beauty is different. Maharaj Parikshit was absorbed in attachment for Lord Krishna. Seeing this, the great sages assembled were very pleased, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. Sadhuvada, sadhu, sadhu. Because Parikshit requested them that I am asking your opinion whether it is appropriate for me to prepare myself to go back to Godhead by fasting until death after having renounced my kingdom. So they are telling very good, because that is the natural way of preparation for quitting the body for a devotee of the Lord. Such sages are naturally inclined to do good to the common man. Sadhu means, the very word sadhu means, one who lives for the welfare of others. A sadhu is not concerned about his own welfare because he is completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Krishna takes care of the sadhu completely. He doesn't have to care for himself. On the other hand, a sadhu, as a devotee, sadhu means a devotee. So as a good devotee of the Supreme Lord, a sadhu tries to do good to others always. So if he doesn't have to do anything for himself, doesn't mean he's inactive. He is very, very active in doing good for others. And when a sadhu sees a personality like Maharaj Parikshit advance in devotional service, such a sadhu's pleasure knows no bounds. And such saintly persons offer all blessings in their power. The devotional service of the Lord is so auspicious that all demigods and sages up to the Lord himself become pleased with the devotee, and therefore the devotee finds everything auspicious. For a devotee is preparing to go back to God, and nothing is inauspicious. All inauspicious matters are removed from the path of a progressive devotee. Meeting all the great sages at the time of death was certainly auspicious for Maharaj Parikshit, and thus he was blessed by the so-called curse of a Brahmana's boy. It's ironical that Parikshit was cursed, but that curse turned out to be a boon in disguise. That's because Parikshit is a pure devotee. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.